How does it go in this matchup? We got 7 maps. 4 of them will go out, and it'll be ban, ban, pick, pick, ban, ban, decider. Going up first, go ahead.
It's no surprise to see M&M kick off with the bank ban. It is pretty much their permaban. They're happy to play it, but they do like to remove it more often than not. Oregon for NIP, not a great map for NIP, and it's in contrast quite a good map for M&M. So again, no major surprises here. We really want to keep our eyes out for something like a Chalet if you sat at home cheering for M&M. I know me and Devon were checking out the social vote earlier, and it was heavily skewed at that moment in time. I'm not sure if it's leveled out since, but
I doubt it.
Chalet is the one that you really want to be keeping your eye out for here to see if that actually weasels its way through.
So let's bring up the rest here on the screen. Actually see the maps that we're going to play first. Oregon out and Cafe.
There it is.
Ooh, M&M on Cafe.
I'm surprised it's not Chalet. I'm surprised that hasn't been grabbed up straight away. It's, I think, in my opinion, M&M's best map. I would say you'd probably agree with that one, Ollie. Yeah. You know, we've seen them play a lot. They love playing that one. NIP don't play all too often. I know that we kind of talk about Chalet inside of LATAM. A lot of teams have kind of taken to it. You think FaZe, Liquid, Fury Team 1, they all will play that map very heavily. NIP, not so much. So maybe M&M may be fearing and maybe just want to go for Cafe, knowing that, yeah, they really like Cafe. M&M will play this day in, day out. They played it 5 times in the past 3 months, and they haven't lost it.
M&M got the win here yesterday against Sandbox. NIP lost here the other day against Sandbox. It's all lining up quite nicely. It's a map that M&M can go into and really try and control the pace from the off. Chalet, it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit different. Give NIP a little bit more space on a map like that, and that's not always something that you want to do. Second map choice coming in as Clubhouse. God, these are 2 really strong picks for either side. M&M, great Cafe team. NIP, you can't take it away from them. They are a cracking Clubhouse team. 100% win rate over the last 3 months. They played it 5 times. They beat Sonics and Rogue in Sweden. This is looking like a banger.
Yep, Villa as a decider, like you said. And you know what? You can't be in Europe and compete in EU League without knowing how to play Clubhouse. You have to do it. You have to do it.
And that's it with the kind of first ban from M&M. They banned, typically if you're a team, you'll either ban your opponent's best map or your worst map. And they went for their worst map. And that means they're leaving open Clubhouse for NIP. So M&M will be comfortable to play that if they left it open.
Okay, very, very quickly, our lobby's ready. Who wins this?
M&M.
How much?
I'm going to say 2-1.
Ollie?
I'm going to say M&M. And I think it's going to be 2-1. I agree with Demo on this one.
All right, friends, thank you very much. We got a greens here on the command center desk. Let's then toss it to our casters and get both of our games in the running. Enjoy.
Time to start off our Stream B here, Nicholas, with M&M versus Ninjas in Pajamas. And setting the expectations, M&M come in with very little global experience. They had a surprising matchup yesterday against Sandbox, and they prevailed. Ninjas in Pajamas are one of the most experienced teams internationally, but that hasn't mattered much at plummet. So the pressure is on for the defending world champions.
That it is, but honestly, for M&M, you can be quite happy because you get to start on Cafe, a map you've played 5 times the last 3 months. You've won it each and every single one of those times. And NIP, they've played it 3 times the last 3 months. They've lost it every single time. They've played it twice here at the Invitational so far. Once against Empire, lost 4-7. Once against Sandbox, lost 4-7. But then, the second map, we're going to Clubhouse. And what do you know? NIP, they've played that one 5 times, and they've won that one every single time. So, the name of the game right here, I think, is M&M expected and should be winning out the first map of Cafe. And then NIP should be coming really strongly back on Clubhouse. And then thirdly, it's Villa, and more of an even ground, so to speak, and honestly, not sure what to expect there, but first 2 maps should be absolute barn burners.
The desk seems to think, or not the desk, the command center, the couch. Couch seems to think that the best chance we have for a matchup between these 2 teams requires all 3 maps. So these teams are expected to win their own map choices just based on the win rates that they have up to this point. Sandbox defeated Ninjas in Pajamas 7-4 on this map, and then M&M defeated Sandbox 7-4 on this map, which means that we actually don't need to play the map at all. M&M is just granted the victory based upon that hierarchy. As we get into the matchup, 63% of you think that M&M will prevail versus 37% over on the side of NIP. I have to say, regardless of how good M&M may be, The fact that NiP have struggled so much through this event does not give you a ton of confidence. The expectations are so low, they're in the basement, which Nick is not the first floor of Cafe, it is under that. We get underway with the ban phase here. Both attackers now removed from action. MNM starting on defense, NiP on attack.
Yeah, so MNM banning out the Twitch. That seems to be a pretty stable ban against Latin teams. And now NIP, they love banning out the Valkyrie. I'm curious if we see it once again. No, it will be the Mirror. So Valkyrie will be on the board unless, of course, MNM responds back. So far, Flores first attacker to go, second attacker to go, and Mirror the first defender. MNM final ban on the defensive side, and it will be the Wamai, which means information is on the board. We don't see Cafe with Valkyrie open very often at all, but this time around we will, and the Thatcher.
That is correct. No Heart Breacher removed from action either. So Twitch has, for many teams, been a targeted ban towards a player who loves the F2 as a weapon. I know Dark Zero tweeted about it quite cheekily the other day, saying, well, now it's F2 Baza instead of Pan Baza because he's going to be on the FAMAS. I'd like to remind everybody that if you have not played Rainbow Six on the LAN client, then you are not aware of how little hit reg issues there are. There is no latency, the guns fire fast, they hit their targets, you can't jiggle peek or lean quickly the same way, there's no ghosting, none of that stuff. Yes, Nick, it's not like you're trying to go on a date and you get ghosted. It doesn't happen here. So the FAMAS will just chew right through their opposition. Additionally, that Twitch drone has had a couple changes. It can jump now. The taser has an infinite length. You do not need to be right up against a gadget for that taser to work. It can shoot from miles away, targeting black eye cams. Valkyrie cameras, or sorry, those black eye cams by Valkyrie, Goyo shields, mirror windows, etc. Very first defense is going to be upstairs, and unlike yesterday, Nick, before we got into the match, I went to the nearest blackboard and I wrote down on it several times, Simpson style, I will not get the bomb site wrong, over and over and over, just like Bart Simpson would do while in detention.
Yeah, we had some banger games in the A stream yesterday, but sometimes the games are too good, sometimes you miss on certain things, and it happens to everybody, Parker, you, me, and everybody else here at the Six Invitationals 2022. First round, MNM going up above on that third floor bomb site off Cocktail Defense. They brought out this early aggression cigar hold, where they'll be using the castle barricades on the piano walls, but NIP making quick work, clearing them out as quickly as possible because they know the more time they have to deal with the setup, the better off they are. The analyst mentioned MNM Solotov had an amazing game yesterday, 1.48 rating, 7-2 on the opening kill entry, having a huge game for his team. But MNM, much like NIP, are full of incredible players, and it's just a matter of who will step up today, because it might not be the same people as the ones tomorrow or yesterday. It can be each and every single one of them at any given moment.
Well, with all the Heart Breachers open and a Thatcher to boot, any of the denial that's put on these walls will be taken care of quite deftly. A Bandit, a Mute, a Kaid, none of them should be much of an issue. And MNM reading into that, because Thatcher is available and because Heart Breach will not have much of a difficulty getting any of these walls open, there's no denial being brought from MNM outside of the Aruni. Kamikaze had been down on the top of red stairs. This is the first bit of action that we see. He'll crawl to safety as the toxic gas lingers above his head. Retrievable by Ninjas in Pajamas, and that should save them from losing one early. It's in fact Nello to die first as Julio guns him down and now retrieves his teammate. An air jab goes for safety, and Solotov down below can creep up. But he'll hear the telltale signs, the pinging of the air jab, and knows that he won't have as safe of a way up those stairs.
Yeah, this basically means that Cigar Shop has to be given up, and now all eyes are on Eustace because he has to try and see if he can get something out of this. But no, he falls back, and while that happens, Pino actually finds Solotov as well. That's the player down below roaming around. And that means that now MNM, they don't have a whole lot of map control, and at NIP, they're just gonna play it slow, drone it out, and set up the round. They know they got the advantage. They don't want to throw that away right now.
Solotov and Tyrant are the two that will carry most of the weight in terms of killing for MNM if everything goes according to plan. Losing Solotov early, not great. 45 seconds left in the very first round, and an advantage for Ninjas in Pajamas, sitting at a 5v3. Their execute will come mostly from Piano side, but there's still one of their players on Repel for Nuvalk, and they can head on in. Neo gets dropped as Nip's guns come alive. A big double play from Tyrant, but he's all that's left for MNM. A third kill to his name. More marks. He knows they're there, but he's having a little bit of difficulty with the hit reg. I feel like I said this just before we started, and I might have cast or cursed him. Ninjas in Pajamas need anything they can get, and taking the very first round against MNM isn't much, but it's a good start.
It certainly is a good start, getting that mental advantage early on. It's the first day of the game, so these are some refreshed players that just came out of their bed, or at the very least, hopefully came out recently, because you want to be awake, but at the same time, you want to have a nice amount of sleep the night before. Mind you that this is MNM's map pick. Yet we're seeing MNM on defense. So whoever picks the map, they do not get to pick the starting side, which means NIP knowingly and choosingly wanted to get the attacking side first. So normally when you see this, you'd think, NIP not expected to do that well, it's a defender side of Cafe, etc. But if you're NIP and you want to go attacking side first, there's a reason for that. One is that you kind of get to dictate the attacking ban phase because the defenders, they ban first. But secondly, I think NIP has a plan coming into this, and they say, we want to get as many boards in the round because they're expecting themselves to perhaps do better on the attacking side than that of the defense. And this very first round showed quite a dominance from them. Normally when we think of NIP, we think very aggressive, very fast-paced gameplay, and yes, they got the opening pick, and yes, they got Solotov on that second one as well, but then they slowed down, and they really ensured to play it tight together. They had 3 guys on the Cigar side, and they had 2 guys on that cocktail window rappel, basically coming from all angles at once, and really using their numbers advantage to their benefit.
No attempt for MNM on that same bomb site. They'll go down below into reading, but it will not surprise you to see a setup up top similar to what happened before. The denial for MNM is a mute. That's it. No Kaid will be on the board yet again. And we'd like to remind you of the operator bans being what they are, and not just what operators are banned, but which ones aren't. That is obviously going to make a big difference. With Valkyrie available, something you said was a bit of an oddity and a rare sight on Cafe, Nello will again bring out the Valkyrie for his team. I believe it was Neo playing on the Valkyrie in the previous round upstairs inside a cocktail. 30 seconds left, and because you want to clear out the top floor, Ninjas in Pajamas have assembled over the hatches and have an opportunity to drop down and start with a clear on the top floor.
Yeah, NIP once again playing it at their own pace. They're not really being quick at all, to be honest. A minute has gone through the round and they haven't progressed really anywhere inside the building just yet. Yeah, hatches have been opened up and we see Pino on this white hall rappel, but NIP has just entered Piano, and they'll need to work their way through this map. There's 2 ways to go about it for NIP. They can either swoop the entire top floor, take control, and make verticality, or they can do like a limited-ish style where they're only gonna take Cigar and go down below. But looking at how aggressive they're getting on these windows, I think they want to take the entire map from MNM.
NIP is at their best when they're controlling the pacing and flow of a round, and while they're going to have some difficulties, they march in, asserting dominance on the top of White Stairs, avenging the death of Pino. He was the first casualty in this matchup. Muzi will soon follow, as Solotov again is down for the count. Uses in the grave. So both teams fighting back, half of the round burned off, and there are 4 players dead, 2 apiece. Just inching around. Psycho looking for one more. Got some covering fire. They don't know that Neo is there, but Neo completely botches the gunfight. May it be nerves? Might it just be a lack of proper aim? Maybe it's because it's so early in the morning. But that was what should have been a relatively easy kill for Neo, at least on one. He softens up Psycho and Kamikaze in the process. Final minute to play, and NIP have an advantage in a 3v2.
Thankfully for MNM and Neo, Kamikaze and Psycho both very low on health. Now there is no C4 from Nello because he is playing the impacts, but both of those has been used as well. Hopefully they will have a Valkyrie camera somewhere, but I actually think that NIP has found most, if not all of them, which leave just the guns from Tyrant and the guns of Nello to do all the work right now. And NIP will have to set up. They do not have the Sledge on the board, they do not have the Sophia, they have no verticality. It'll come down to gunplay.
Nello's waiting for the drop on White Stairs. A sound cue will be his best friend. Grenades and flashbangs going off. Kamikaze has the diffuser in hand. He's planting. Tyrant from the other side of the map, over by pillars. And there's somebody by the reading door that he'll have to tussle against. No real urgency from MNM. Tyrant losing the gunfight against Julio, and Psycho does cleanup work. MNM have no shot in the post plant, and Ninjas in Pajamas go out to a 2-0 lead.
MNM almost standing still there. I mean, they obviously didn't, though NIP was planting, but even then, if you evacuate the bomb site entirely, they will just drop the laundry hatch or drop pillars, walk into side and start planting, and then you have no answer. Either you gotta run up the staircases, try and retake the top floor, and then use the verticality against them, but that's where the joke's on you. You killed the Sledge, you killed the Sophia. There is no verticality onto bomb site, so arguably MNM could have stayed on the site itself and held NIP from walking in. Instead, they played quite far away, didn't hear the plant go down, and yeah, the post-plant situation, we all know, once the diffuser goes down, it is heavily favored for the attackers. It is oh so difficult to retake in Rainbow Six Siege, so your best bet, honestly, is to just try and make sure that the attackers do not get to plant at all. Now MNM, 3 for 3 here. They've gone on 3 different bomb sites. They started top, then they went second floor reading. Now they're on the first floor of Bakery. They're trying to find the win somewhere, and so far, it hasn't really gone their way. We don't see the Valkyrie this time on Nello. It's actually gonna go to use this, so we're kind of throwing this operator around, but this time, she does bring the C4. Neo himself bringing out the yokai, so tons of information play from MNM, but they have to use it. They gotta get active. There's no way you can just sit in the basement and just think that NIP don't know how to execute, because by the looks of it, this is an execute-based NIP. It's not as gun-heavy as they have been in the past, and honestly, it's working quite well for them.
It's interesting hot potato of Valkyrie. Neo to Nello, now to Usus. They're just trading Valkyrie around like she's a Pokemon card on the playground. Everybody's going to get a chance to use it. In this case, you're going to, like you said, have access to that C4 and the easy low recoil of the MPX. I don't know if Tyrant or anybody from MNM will go for an early fight, but Tyrant's been spotted by the window, and he just narrowly misses on an opportunity to die as there were bullets over top of his head. Still playing there, this time Solotov engaging. MNM were credited with the first kill in the previous round. These teams are even when it comes to opening duels. Despite that, NIP were able to take that deficit, immediately trade it off, and control that third floor before snowballing to the rest of the bomb site. It's going to be completely different now as their focus will be set on Kitchen on that main floor.
Certainly, and honestly, from MNM right now, pretty good early round. They've killed 5 drones inside of NIP. Only half the drones left, which means NIP limited on information gain, but I don't think they care too much. They're just gonna go right in. Julio, opening kill onto Solotov. No follow-up from MNM. Now 5 versus 4.
A very aggressive defense here from MNM, and it won't slow down just because they've lost Solotov now 3 rounds in a row early. That doesn't mean they need to take their foot off the gas, because Musi is the next to fall. And again, these teams back at an even number. Just before Julio has something to say about that, Tyrant off-site, playing by VIP. He's as good as gone. Nello blinded by Whiskey, and a grenade goes in. The coordination from NIP is picture perfect so far, Nick. That leaves just Neo and Usus. A 2v4 for MNM. Trailing. A very attacker-sided Cafe unfolding in front of our very eyes, and NIP look all but certain to stretch out to a 3-0 lead. There's just over a minute to go. Plenty can happen. And if NIP gets sloppy, this is something that MNM can capitalize on. But sloppiness has not been the name for NIP so far today. Through 2 rounds, there's still opportunities that can present themselves for MNM.
Yeah, and once again, NIP, when they get the 4 versus 2 situation, they play it super slow and super tight. They've drawn out the entire bomb set. They know it's clear. It's been evacuated once again. They can start planting. The only thing that can stop them are those yokai drones, unless, of course, Neo finds the head of Kamikaze as diffuser on the ground and uses trace it back as well. Now make that a 2 versus 2. Playing tight and slow for NIP, not working this time around because MNM, they're on the move.
Pino by the bomb chassis. The Banshee is being baited out at the moment. Neo falters to Julio's 3rd kill, leaving Usus here to try and capitalize off of these final 2 players. Diffuser being planted, he knows exactly where it is. You need to thread the needle, he does that. No real damage done. Pino taking about 25 HP away, and he's prepped and ready for Usus to enter the kitchen, which is firmly NIP's domain. An impressive 3-0 start for the Latin American team, who are so desperate to start putting points on the board, and they are marching their way towards an impressive result here on Cafe.
Yes, if you guys have been watching the groups, all that pre-show we had just a minute ago, basically NIP is at the bottom of their group with Sonics just in front of them. And right now, as we're talking on the Bravo stream, on the primary stream of twitch.tv/Rainbow6, Sonics are playing their game as well. So if the Sonics win, then NIP kind of has to win as well. They're gonna stay inside of this group stage with a guarantee. But if Sonics lose and NIP wins, that puts Sonics at the bottom. So these 2 games that are ongoing at the same moment really have an effect that goes together. But right now, tactical pause from the side of MNM, I think it's quite wise. You're down 0-3, and yes, NIP, they clearly wanted to start an attack. They picked this starting side. They could have picked either defense or attack. They went with attack and have a strong showing so far. Now MNM, they gotta figure out how to break them apart. They tried playing passive in the beginning. Then they tried early aggression on this previous round on basement, and neither of those styles have worked so far. So MNM back to the drawing board.
If I'm Omerta, I'm not particularly happy about this. The rest of the team not particularly happy either. Ninjas in Pajamas given an opportunity to talk to the rest of their team, as their coach Mighty is not behind them. As you can see, he was an unfortunate victim of circumstance, locked in his room due to COVID protocols. Bob, who is more of a player manager and not a strategic coach, stands behind his boys, but they don't necessarily need a coach, as they've won before with Bob behind them and have had impressive results. Either way, NIP seem quite settled into this map. You talked about it before we queued in. This is an incredibly strong map for MNM. 5 plays, 5 victories, including one here at the Six Invitational yesterday over Sandbox Gaming.
Yep.
It's also been one of NIP's most played maps. They've played it in both of their series so far, but they have nothing to show for it. 2 4-7 losses to both Sandbox and Empire suggest that MNM were coming in quite confidently. A, this is a good map for you. B, this is quite a poor map for your opponent. Yet, NIP have thrown out the script, and they are bucking the trend at the moment. There's desperation from MNM that will come out and become even more apparent if NIP's lead continues to grow.
Certainly.
On this 4th round, back up to Cocktail, we'll see MNM go. They have not stuck to a single bomb site for more than 1 round in a row, and well, we'll see if they can make a course correction. They've brought a couple differences on this bomb site. There's one operator in particular that really stands out.
Yeah, that's the Jaeger. I mean, Jaeger's not very common. I'm kidding. It's the Clash. Clash is a menace, if you will.
You got me, by the way. you fooled me. I was like, wait a moment.
Wait a minute. They didn't bring Jaeger the previous rounds? Nah, it's the Clash. Clash is one of these operators that we don't actually see almost at all on this top floor defense on Cafe. And honestly, I'm very excited to see how they want to use it. I imagine with the Clash, you want to play more passive because it's going to be very difficult to hold Cigar and Piano. I have seen some teams, the French ones in particular in Europe, where instead of playing a shield and pixel, they play the Clash, basically a movable shield, but uses getting active early on, jumping out, doesn't find anybody, but keeping NIP on their toes. And up on the top floor, we are actually seeing the Clash being used in that 90 bathroom position, so NIP, they'll have to answer to that at some point in the round, basically acting as a movable shield. One nade will not take care of this Clash, and there is no Sophia on the board of NIP, no Capital on the side of NIP. They have grenades, they have flashbangs, and maybe an air jet from Julio, but besides that, that's all they got. And by the way, Julio actually have used every single air jet for the runouts, so Clash even more safe than before.
There's a couple operators that work really well at dislodging a Clash. Nomad being one of them, Capital, as well as Fire Arrows, do a ton of damage when a Clash, slow as she is unable to get out of the way. Zofia and Kali can both knock the shield away as well. One with Zofia's concussions and with a single shot from the Kali sniper. But as you can see from the lineup being brought from Ninjas in Pajamas, they really don't have much to disrupt that Clash. As you said, the air jab's the best opportunity to do that. They've all been used. They've been used in a very different application. In this case, you can still blow up the Clash with a grenade. And there's plenty of those on the side of Ninjas in Pajamas, 2 sets of them, one of which has already been used by Pino. And it'll go off by pallets. Solotov has not been anywhere near as effective as MNM would like. He's been the early dep on his team twice in a row and will again be the first to die. And he does no damage on the way down. Solotov an 0 for 4. That is a tragic result. NIP is in the middle of the bomb site, by the way, but MNM are swatting them away. And why? Because NIP cannot deal with this Clash at all. So they are blindly firing in towards the back of the map, capitalizing off of the air jabs. Excellent gunplay by Musi. He stopped in his tracks by Nello. NIP in a 2v3. But the thing is that there is a Clash. So while it's a 2v3, one of them is immobile. She'll continue to call. And MNM make quick work of NIP after NIP get into the bomb site. And finally, this British team pick up their very first round.
Yeah, you might be thinking, watching that round from home, like, oh, the Clash didn't do anything, just kind of sitting there in the Cocktail bomb chassis. But honestly, the Clash did so much work. It's basically a deployable shield and a bulletproof gadget because the opposing team of NIP, they know they're getting yellow signal ping. They know exactly where they will be from the side of MNM, and the Valkyrie C4 from below took out the player deep on side, and there was no way for NIP to deal with the clash. They dropped the Skylight, they pushed Cigar, but it didn't ultimately matter because MNM played so well around the clash and information. They found each and every single kill, just leaving Pino on that cocktail rappel as the last man alive, and MNM doing a good job of not moving into the crossfires of NIP, finding those isolated 1 versus 1 gunfights, and they get their first round on the board, all thanks to the clash. But now we're downstairs on the second floor of Reading Dining, and no clash will be on the board, which means MNM, they gotta find a way to win without him. They got, or without her rather. They got the Goyo, they got the Valkyrie, they got the verticality. Solotov is the last remaining player in this entire lobby on the side of MNM that has not been activated. Kamikaze, similar story on NIP. They're both trying to get their first kill in this matchup.
But very different roles they play.
Very different roles.
Kamikaze with the diffuser in hand, playing on Hibana, has 1 plant to his name, and it was a successful plant. Nip have 2 diffusers being planted. 1 was in the hands of Pino. But Kamikaze not getting kills is not as dire as Solotov. Solotov's purpose is to get kills. Kamikaze's isn't necessarily that. So if you've got a roamer who is going to be not your entry on defense, switch to entry when you go to attack, but you are the first in the line of defense of your team, and you are constantly crumbling. They're ripping through you. Nip is ripping through them like a wet paper bag right now. That is essentially a 4v5. The only thing really going for Solotov at the moment is the gadgetry, which thankfully Solotov has been playing operators that have that persistent gadgetry that we've talked about, where when you die, you don't take them with you. Not like an operator like Smoker, where you die, you can't use toxic canisters. No, the laser gates for Rooney stay up and will persist for the remainder of the round. So at least some value being provided there. But the one thing I want to say for everybody watching is that 4 of the players on MNM have never competed in an international tournament of any size, let alone of this size. So imagine coming in, playing up against the defending world champions and having some stumbles. I think it's pretty safe to say that there's a lot of players that would end up like that.
Almost certainly most people would, and actually Saigo bring out the Kali, and I don't think that's for the gun. I think that was in contingency in case the clash being brought out again from MNM. You spoke about it, Parker. The Kali sniper, it'll knock back the shield with a regular bullet, really countering the likes of Clash, and actually in this case as well, it can clear out the mute jammers on the cocktail bar wall, and yeah, 1 hit, 1 miss, but they got it eventually, and they can now make their way through the map as they can breach the walls into cocktail, really exposing MNM's positions, and they're gonna drop the hatch. They say, you know what? We don't want any of this smoke. We're gonna give you guys the high ground, but now, this time around, NIP, they got this sledge on the board. They got 1 more breaching charge on the side as well, so that means a lot of verticality and damage can be done. And all NIP will have to do is, once they drone it out and realize that, oh, MNM gave it to us for free, move on over, start breaking the floor completely, and setting up for that plant. The easiest approach for NIP is to take pillar control and just walk into that reading door and plant in that default position behind the closet, but you got a whole minute first to figure out exactly if that's what they want to do.
The default plant spot being by that door to reading, but that wasn't the plant spot that Nip went with before. On the previous round, they planted by the opening by Laundry. Nice shot by Musi as Uzis gets a little bit too cheeky and cute on white stairs, and he's picked apart with a couple bullets. Neo stands not too far away from the now decaying body of Uzis, waiting patiently. A drone scoots by, his position given away, and he'll fall back. So this will be a hunt for Nip to try and catch him and punish him. All the while, there's only 20 seconds left in the round. This has flown by. The flashes go out, none connecting. Tyrant ascending the stairs. MNM trying to get back into the bomb site. We'll see how close they can get. Nilo falters. Now Neo joins as well. Psycho with that secondary sidearm on the Kali, doing some significant damage. So it's up to Tyrant and Solotov. Solotov still searching for his first kill. 5 to Tyrant's name. It's all on Solotov. 0-4 in a flawless round is awaiting MNM, unless Solotov can do something about it. He can't. The diffuser goes down. Ninjas in Pajamas are in full control, and it's a 4-1 scoreline. They will definitively take the first half.
Flawless round from NIP. And honestly, you might be thinking to yourself, what happened? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the Kali. The Kali wasn't necessarily picked for the purpose it was used, but the amount of value you got from being able to clear those mute jammers, because Kali is basically like a Thatcher, and typically Thatcher would be banned, but in this case it isn't. But the Thatcher isn't great against the Clash the same way the Kali is, so NIP getting 2 different kinds of values out of 1 single operator, and the moment they breach the cocktail wall, all of MNM evacuated top floor and just dropped down. They didn't want to contest any gunplay or gunfights at all. And now we're actually seeing a 6-pick from Muzi from the Ashe onto Sophia, which is funny because in the very first round of this map, it was the opposite way around, where we 6-pick from the Sophia onto the Ashe. So Muzi, figuring out kind of what vibe are we feeling, but I think the clash makes sense. You get a great gun, and in case the clash does get 6-pick from MNM, you know, those concussion stuns, they work the same way as Kali, where if you hit the clash or in proximity of her, she will kind of open up her arms and sway back her shield, exposing her body, and that'll allow the teammates of Muzi to take her down.
It's a sidearm too that just wreaks havoc. A lot of people sleep on that just secondary machine pistol that both Clash and Kali have access to. There's some criticism about Kali and how the bolt-action sniper rifle is not an ideal primary to use, but I mean, you've got a second pseudo-primary in your back pocket. It reminds me a lot of when the SMG-12 was, in many cases, a better secondary than most primary guns, and you could see both Dokkaebi and Vigil using it extensively. That said, not dwelling too much on round number 5, the very final defense for MNM, final attack for NiP. These teams will swap sides afterwards. This is a strong map for MNM, but you wouldn't know it based on the scoreline at the top. Is this just a very attacker-sided cafe? Numbers right now heading into this matchup don't suggest that's the case. This is a relatively even map. So NiP are taking full advantage of a lack of coordination from MNM. This is the problem that occurs when you get a new team that is somewhat inexperienced. You can have some beginner's luck, but there are teams that are here. They've been here much longer. They know how to deal with newer teams. MNM certainly have their hands full.
And I also don't think NiP is underestimating MNM at all. They were kind of spoken very highly of by both casters, analysts, and of course within the European League, whereas often we see teams from like APAC. People don't know much about them and people underestimate them. But what do you know? Underestimate a team and they come and bite you back. I don't think that's the case here. NiP clearly showing a ton of respect to the side of MNM. And once again, this basement attack, NiP playing it very slow, feeling out their opponent, kind of waiting for MNM to make the first move and get the opening pick. Psycho just holding down this angle, and I think NiP can be happy with that because even if they were to lose the round, they still get a 4-2 side swap. Normally, oh, uses that's the second run out that doesn't award you a kill, but a bit of damage at the very least. Normally on Cafe, with Thatcher being open, it's quite attacker favored, but the thing is, yes, Thatcher's open, NiP hasn't played it yet, they haven't used it to its full capacity at all, but they're still winning rounds. It's unheard of, Parker.
NiP has been allowed to set up on the second floor too, and you can hear the sledge just smashing away. Uses drop from a grenade from above. That's the first pick of the round. 1 minute to go, and it's a good time for NiP and their fans to start to put some points on the board. And by points, I mean kills. Still opening up some of that floor. It's going to make the defenders down below very uncomfortable, and it's going to take away the safe spots that you can play on. The primary focus for NiP, I have to imagine, is going to be a freezer drop. So get control, try to force Nello out of this position as best as you can. They're doing a fantastic job of it at the moment. Nello's been dropped. They'll need to figure out if he can be finished off. But there's a flank occurring now from MNM. Tyrant creeping up the stairs. Oh, his controller's unplugged. Muzi dropping him. Nello finished off by the grenade toss down. First kill for Solotov, but he's going to have some more to do. More resting on his shoulders. Neo still has a Yokai drone potentially in play as well. Flash is going out, but Solotov is immune to the first, the second not so much. Kamikaze not far away. Solotov drops Muzi, trading out, but it's a kill fest from Julio to grab the last two in the first round, or the first set of rounds in the first half. Goes to Ninjas in Pajamas, 5-1.
Wow, that is also a good round for NiP. They had 5-1 side split out of those 6 rounds, that 4 of the opening kills to 2 of the side of MNM. Uses tried running out twice, didn't work out a single one. Early aggression from MNM hasn't worked out at all. I mean, I wrote down my notes. Aggro, confident, flexible team from MNM, and to be honest, they have shown one of those 3 things. They have shown flexibility. They've played so many different operators and multiple people. They have not quite shown confidence just yet, and they have not really shown aggression, at least that worked. Of course, now they got on the attacking side. Neo showing the IQ early on to start off the round, and NiP did a good job. They showed the Valkyrie, meaning Neo stuck his guts on the IQ, but they said, you know what, we're gonna 6 off it, and we're gonna think you're gonna stick it, and now you're gonna get way less value out of your IQ scanner because we don't have the Valkyrie on the board. Mossy is on the board instead. Castle being brought up by Moosey again. We've seen this a couple of times. You're going to be barricading off those piano windows. You can barricade off that double door to Cigar if that's what you want to do and basically extend out early aggression. That's something that MNM themselves did in that very first round with Nelo playing inside of Cigar with the smoke. But he also fell quite early on, and that made NIP's life a lot easier. And if you guys recall, NIP did win the first 3 rounds of their attack. Now we'll see if MNM can do the same, because they have a big task in front of them. Honestly, a lot of people relying on them as well. Casters, analysts, fans at home. But at the same time, we can also say MNM came from CL. They're now in EUL. They just qualified a few months ago, or dare I say almost basically a few weeks ago. Then they played the open qualifier of Invitationals. They won that qualifier, and now they're here. If you're MNM, even if you were to lose every single match, which they haven't done because they beat Sandbox Gaming in their first game yesterday, 7-5 Oregon, 7-4 Cafe, you can be happy with your performance. But of course, if you're MNM, you want to show more.
Excuse me, Psycho, but that's not very nice. Tyrant just wanted a nice look in to see what was going on in the cigar lounge, but you decide to end his round
Very
40
rude.
seconds in. How could you do that?
That's just not gonna bode well for Minimis at Parker, because now that's Tyrant off the board. It's your top gunner, it's Ionic Grenades gone, and the Gon 6 as well, so 3 explosives, and those are gonna be quite useful this round, and you're not gonna have that spare. Of course, the Finger and the Sledge will bring their own, but the more the merrier.
IQ being brought as well to deal with the Valkyrie was something that had been talked about, but guess what? Joke's on you. Nip's not bringing it. Pino with the DMR takes out Uzis. MNM have not even made it in the building, really, and yet they are being picked apart by this Ninjas in Pajamas squad. Not an ideal start on this half. If Nip go up to 6-1, the climb back for MNM looks particularly treacherous, and they'll have to find a pick or two early to try to keep this one even. And there you go. Solotov is seemingly online. This is the first Turkish player to play at a T1 level internationally. It's 0 kills going into the previous round, now 3 to his name. On Finka, it's like taking candy from a baby. You should be getting a kill every single round with that LMG, Gon 6, grenades, and adrenal surges. There's Kamikaze, preying upon the weak, preying upon the innocent. Solotov frags back. He's the only chance for his team this round, but Musi says that's quite enough from you. I don't want to see any more. That leaves Nello in a 1v3. 1 minute to go. Trapped inside a cigar, the walls closing in on him. He knows exactly what needs to be done here. The most experienced member of MNM won a Pro League championship with Na'Vi all the way back in Tokonami, back in Season 11. Still twisting and toiling, Nitro Cell going off. They know exactly where he is because he's been firing away from that same position. But guess what? Nip don't need to waste any of that time, Nick. 40 seconds to go. You can just stand pat, play patiently, let Nello come to you. He's an incredibly talented player. And the Nello clutch on Coastline, when he was playing on Gridlock, tends to be one of the most, I think, famous moments from him as a player. But he's going to be able to pull it off again. Survey says, not yet, maybe. 1 HP in a dream. Castle barricade next to him, clock working against you, making noise, but Psycho puts him out of his misery. Have to wonder if that was a deliberate stall to allow the team to talk a little bit, as MNM had used their tactical timeout early on, and this has been a very quick affair. Nip now up on match point, 6-1.
I love watching Bob behind NIP. He's so emotionally invested in his team, and I mean, when you have a name like Bob, it's just, I feel like it adds to the charisma of the character as well, because for me, at least as a Danish person, we have Bob the Builder, right? I guess that's not Danish, but Bob the Builder is like close to my heart. He's a nice, funny guy. Bob himself behind NIP, very nice guy, very kind, very funny as well, very charismatic, that's the word, charismatic as well. NIP doing a really good job on their first defensive round to basically capitalize on the, I guess, the lack of coverage made by MNM. Sure, it's kind of hard to cover a lot of angles when you're down 2 players because NIP found 2 early picks on their side, but it's kind of what we didn't see from MNM. MNM would just be falling backwards, constantly giving ground to NIP. The moment NIP thought MNM got too much ground, it would push back into them. We saw Kamikaze peek the breach. When that happened, I believe it was Musi who also swung around. They traded 1 for 1 and they got good value. And really, MNM struggling to get a foot on the floor. They barely made it to the building before 2 players lost their head, and well, it's going to be a reading bomb site defense, but a similar fashion. We're going to be extending up above, bringing the castle once more. And this time, MNM, try and keep all your bodies alive. You want to make sure that you have as many guns as possible because you need them right now. NIP, they're really shooting back.
Especially with that very first pick that we saw from Psycho up above. Cutting one of the players from MNM off a wire. I believe it was Tyrant that was the first one to die.
Yeah.
Hard to tell because pretty much all of MNM died in the same window of time with the exception of Nello and Solotov. So it could be any of one of the three. Usus, Neo, Tyrant, who knows? They all died very quickly and did not allow for much of a fight for their team. A very disappointing first map for MNM thus far. They still have time to turn it around, but the darkness grows, and NiP are chomping at the bit, licking their lips, seeing that Clubhouse map they are 5-0 on over the last 2.5 months is potentially up for their taking.
Yeah, you can be quite confident if you're NIP, right? Because you're not supposed to win this map statistically. You haven't really won it in the last 3 months. You lost it twice already here at Invitationals, once to Empire, once to Sandbox. Those were 4-7 losses. But now, I mean, you've already got 2 more rounds. But not only that, but your opponent only has one 6-1 scoreline match point. 1 minute 45 left. And this time around, MNM, all players are alive, but they got much more ground to cover before they can get anywhere near to a victory.
The one thing I will say that bodes well for MNM was that you had some individual performers who were struggling in the kill department. They have seemingly picked it up. So when you get to Clubhouse, maybe they will be a bit more proficient. In the meantime, the whole team is ultimately failing to do what needs to be done. Failing to hold map control, now failing to take map control. 90 seconds off of this pretty fateful round, and it's Ninjas in Pajamas again to start things off. The UMP in the hands of Pino finds Solotov. That's the Finka down. No Adrenal Surges, no Gon 6, no nades either. Not running the LMG at the spear in hand. So the rest of MNM have to ensure that they are not making some big mistakes. Psycho jumps out. Is he going to be able to win this? No, he sees the elbow of Tyrant. But as Tyrant re-enters the building, just in the middle of the site now, for the record, down and reading, it's NiP in a 4v2.
That is quite nice, and Tyrant saying, you know what, this round might be over, but I'm going to get some kills on my way back. Gets another one as well. Now side control is kind of hell, but Nelo is so far away, no diffuser in hand, pushing up that wide hallway. Could come down the wide stairs and help his teammate, or drop that launcher ahead of Tyrant. Has to do so much work. Triple kill for him so far. Kamikaze off the board. What
did I say, Nick? Some of these players have come online, and if they can start hitting their shots, even if the slope is a little bit too steep for them here on Cafe, then it could work out really well on Clubhouse.
Timing.
Julio creeping up. Just missing out on Tyrant. Tyrant sees it. Lots of damage being done with the ARX in hand. He's been hitting his shots. Where is Nello? In the corner, planting. Both Julio and Pino are so low. Tyrant needs to watch these two players swinging, but he gets picked off by Pino. And Nello's the last one up. He takes out Julio. Cleaning house. Diffuser down. He's at full HP. A single bullet to Pino is all it will take. Pino has no intel as to where to go. Just over 30 seconds for him to win this matchup and win this map for his team. Push us to Clubhouse. But he's got time to do that. He has no idea. Suspects that there might be one inside of Laundry. It's to the left, by the default plant spot. Assessing where that diffuser is. Fires away, but he's got his back exposed. Nello, you're looking the wrong way, and there's a freebie for Nello, as it was just poor intel, and you've got too many angles to cover. Whether it was the team directing him to Laundry or not, it is his undoing. And MNM still in this matchup.
I really got scared for a moment when Nelo flicked to the left towards the pillar area. It's like, oh no, what if the timing happens that Pino 180s and sees him and takes him out? That would have been terrible for MNM, but what was great for them, they had a 2 versus 5 essentially clutch. Opened up from Tyrant, getting that triple kill, and now I go back to my notes. Aggro, confidence, flexibility, and now I've seen them all because that previous round showed all of those things. Aggressiveness, confidence in the aggressiveness, but it took them to be in a terrible position of a 2 versus 5 before that really came from them. They could stop having this playstyle with the 5v5, with the 3v3, whichever man count they have. You don't have to only play that way when your back's against the wall and there's no other way to win, because clearly MNM, they have the players, they have the aim, and to be honest, Tyrant completely out-dueled every member of NIP except for Julio, I believe, who ended up taking him down. But MNM, you gotta show it more, you gotta show it now, you gotta show it earlier if possible. Sure, it's the first map, but if not now, then you have only one more shot to do it on Clubhouse, a map that statistically NIP are the kings on.
Down to kitchen they go. This rotation looking eerily similar from Ninjas in Pajamas as to what we saw from MNM. Marshmallows and Molotovs. How funny that you have Solotov on Marshmallows and Molotovs. I wonder if that was deliberate or just really convenient. Cocktail reading and kitchen, cocktail reading and kitchen. Those were the 6 bomb sites for MNM. Cocktail reading and kitchen for NiP is what you see right now. And could potentially repeat. MNM need to win out from here to overtime in order to secure a win. And then, of course, once they get to overtime, they need to win 2 of those 3 rounds. That is a very heady task. It is doable, and we've seen teams close gaps like this before. As unlikely as it may be, the previous round from MNM, even though it came down to a 1v1, was at least a better showing than we've seen from them thus far. Users walks in, takes out Pino. That's the first pick for MNM. They're going to need a couple more to feel confident about their ability to take this bomb site.
That is exactly what I was expecting out of MNM off the bat. Aggression, confidence, storming into Bakery and taking control in the first 45 seconds. But now, they got a bigger task in front of them. Sure, it's Pino off the board, it's the Kai gone, this wall is soft, which means they don't have to worry about breaching it. Julio getting active, getting aggressive. Juices get taken down by Psycho, but NIP once more, they're pushing back into Bakery.
Psycho holding this angle on the window. Nice shot onto Neo, and now MNM are the ones who are behind. Psycho turns around. He's got the Warden of Musi with him, but Tyrant has other ideas. He was critical in the previous round, and he's now equalized it. He's hit us to a 2v2. Nello and Tyrant, again. Nello by the main door. He's going to hold on to that diffuser. He's got half of the round to play with. This has been characterized by a brief bit of action, then a pause, then action again. The last 2 remaining players from NiP are Psycho and Musi. These have both been players who have historically dominated games, and right now Psycho is on a fantastic 13-5. They'll run up against the red-hot hand of Tyrant. Drone work being done. Plenty of time still for MNM to work with, but they're going to need to get some of that gadgetry in action. Not just good enough for a drone, but apparently you'll see a Gemini come up as well. Psycho wants to take the engagement to Nello, very narrowly does that. Tyrant and Nello spread far apart. It'll be a Bakery take to a certain extent. Tyrant looking for a flank. Will somebody from NiP move out of the bomb site? The answer is no. It's Tyrant to get caught, and Psycho is looking for the ace to close it out. He's going to need to do just that. An ace to win. What an impressive feat, and 15 kills for Psycho would be a victory for NiP. Nello again in this clutch position. He sees the head of the Mozzie, but he cannot connect. He'll go for the plant instead. With 30 seconds left, he can fake this. It'll be a retake from Psycho. He's not going to contest. It'll allow Nello to get the diffuser down. So Psycho will creep up through the same doorway that he had just seen a teammate fall from not too long ago. Looking in the bomb site, there was limited intel in the post plant. He thinks he's over by Bakery, but he's over by Prep, and now the position's been given away. So he'll move forward, and Nello again, 2 rounds in a row. He will clutch out. Phenomenal stuff from MNM, and they stay alive again. The comeback in its infancy, but it's growing, baby.
Honestly, in that position, I think there's no better player from MNM to have that 1 versus 1 because experience speaks volumes. I was afraid that another player from MNM might have played that a little bit differently, and I think Nello played it perfectly. He leveraged the time, he leveraged the ground, he knew his opponent was low on health of Psycho, and of course, I think they both knew a 4K had gone out, which means Nello wasn't gonna let that ace go through, but Tyrant was the player once again that we speak of. He opened up the round, got the 2K really quickly, and then Nello and Tyrant is the duo amongst gods. They're doing it back to back, and they're finding rounds for their team. 6-3 now, still in favor of NIP, of course. Nick got many more rounds to go. They're going back up top, and we're actually having the exact same bomb set situation as before. Top, reading, basement, or first floor of kitchen, and then back upstairs we go. No team has played mining just yet. They're confident in their top 4 holding skills. We got the castle on the board as well. It's gonna be a similar fashion to the first time around where NIP, they conquered. And then on the reading bomb side, that's where MNM, they conquered. Now, MNM, they are starting to show their aggressive side, and it's working so much better for them. But remember, it can be quite difficult to muster up the confidence to do those things against the literal current reigning world champions of NIP. And one of the most ridiculous things that happened last round, well, MNM, they took Baker in 45 seconds. Good job by them. But then NIP, they sent 4 players back to retake Bakery, something we almost never see, and Psycho found 4 kills of his own. Then MNM said, well, we'll take it back right then. The 2v2 happened now. We saw what happened, and now Nello opened up those cancel barricades using the Hibana gadget to great effect. You can only use 2 pellets. All you need is 1 to hit the barricade, and then it's gone.
We have an update, by the way, on the other matchup, as Psycho wanted an early pick yet again. Let's talk about what's happening on the other stream on twitch.tv/Rainbow6. Deafen yourself for the next 10 seconds. Starting now. The Sonics have defeated Sandbox Gaming 7-0 on map number 1. Phenomenal stuff from them, and there ends the spoiler. Back to the match.
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. Good stuff. Opening kill, good stuff as well. Solotov now really shining through. That's Kamikaze off the board, Jaeger in the grave. But again, the Jaeger gadget, it has passive value. You put it down, it continues throughout the round, but Solotov wants more. Julio off the board. Same fashion though. Passive gadget, they'll still get that jammer value.
I guess it really just is a very attacker-sided cafe. A 5-1 split is what's needed from MNM to propel them to overtime. They've got 2 of those 5 rounds thus far. Nip moved to map point back in the very first round. This is a good lead that they have established. You talked about passive gadgetry. Both Julio and Kamikaze have those passive gadgets. If there was a Nitro Cell in hand for Julio, then that might be something that is denied for the rest of the team. A nice shot from Pino. He'll hold down the fort over on that new Balk and go immediately on to a cam. Solotov likes that one. He pays his commendations with a nice shot in chat.
Oh, nice shot indeed. So this is kind of where NIP, they started playing slowly in that 5 versus 3. MNM, they kept up the aggression, but I mean, it's working in their favor right now. Juice has found Psycho, so Top Gunner off the board. But now, NIP, they're gonna get really aggressive.
Muzi's sneaking up, trying to take advantage of a blind spot if MNM aren't aware of this. It could be their undoing. They have somebody dedicated on flank watch. There's a flank drone that just got swatted away by Muzi, but he's got a lot of angles to look at. Pino's still far back inside a cocktail. This beachhead from Nip is but a single player. Muzi thinks there might be one on White Stairs, but he's fighting shadows. Nobody in that particular area. Nobody in the postal code. All the flashes raining down through the skylight. One hits on the Pino. Muzi is as good as dead, and Pino will need to clutch in a 1v4. He gets swung in on by Usus, but it's Tyrant credited with the kill. And suddenly, MNM have found a fire that wasn't there before. 3 rounds in a row. They are very quickly closing this gap with Ninjas in Pajamas.
Pretty sure I just heard somebody from MNM scream, "Let's go!" It was really loud, but I love that. Energy from players. Also, speaking of energy, I think we're gonna get a tactical pause from NIP indeed. And I mean, this makes sense, right? You've lost the last 3 rounds in a row. You've lost the last opening kill 2 times in a row. And now MNM, they're starting to claw their way back with that 4-6 scoreline. NIP, they want to end it right now, right here. They're hovering the Reading Fireplace bomb site, and they want to make sure that this is the last bombs that they have to play on the side of Cafe, because NIP, they want to go to Clubhouse. MNM, however, remember, when one team takes a timeout, the opposing team can also talk to their coach, and they can talk between each other or amongst each other. And we're seeing on these player cams that both teams are getting very, very much active on those verbal linguistics. Want to make sure that they have a clear plan going in, and they're both bringing out the spies. I don't think anything's going to get too crazy. We're seeing pretty basic lineups. Actually, NIP, they've changed their bomb site. You guys can't see this, I'm updating you myself. They're hovering between Reading and top floor, Reading and top floor, clearly discussing which one is favored the most, and Bob even got involved with his opinion as well, so he might not be the strategical head coach, but Bob has stood beside these boys for many years, and he's done so with great confidence, and I am sure Bob has something to say as well.
Bob's knowledge of this game is not as strong as most head coaches. He's more of a motivational coach, and we said he's a player manager. But Mighty is currently in COVID protocol and is unable, as far as we are aware, to speak to the team during the timeouts that are called. So that is a disadvantage for Ninjas in Pajamas, and not that Mighty is the sole reason as to why Nip has seen success over the last year, but the absence of him, either as a calming presence behind the team or as that commanding voice during a timeout, I think objectively weakens Nip, even as good as Bob may be to rally the troops. Nip are prone to tilting. They have tilted over the last 2 days. You have seen it if you follow them on Twitter or on social media. The team has griped about how they don't like the build of the game. They've had issues with recoil in previous seasons. So whether you think that's Nip making excuses or not, it is abundantly clear that frustration sets in on this team. Be it frustration with themselves and then projecting, or frustration with their results. Nip are now in a position where they have been knocked onto their back foot. And this timeout, if you're a Nip player, You hope that these 30 seconds that you just spent talking to the rest of your team is going to settle you down, because M&M are closing that gap in a hurry.
So a strategical thing that changed this round. Both the freezer walls are now reinforced, and they got caught in the board from Psycho. And then one very important thing to remember, Uses, he actually 6-picked the Buck from the Thatcher. Meanwhile, Psycho 6-picked onto the Kaid. So NIP have a very strong strategical advantage, because there's no easy way for M&M to break the Kite Claw and get through these walls. The Kite Claw is likely below. That's typically where Latam likes to put them. But even then, the Thatcher not being in play, M&M has to find some kills and find openings. They cannot strategically pull apart this round as easily as before.
NiP was so good at setting the tempo on attack. On defense, it's much harder to do. We talked about this in a matchup yesterday that we saw in regards to Team Liquid trying to control that pacing and playing a little passive to Space Station. In this case, NiP are also at their best when they are the ones who get to bully their opponents around. But M&M's entry points to this map have been superb through the last 3 rounds. Getting opening picks, or if not getting the opening pick, immediately responding and then picking off the isolated players from NiP. You might surrender the first player, but then you get the next 2. That's a win. You move forward. You have the objective play in mind. You have your goals in mind. You have to execute on that. Still searching for the very first pick now, as we are almost halfway through round number 11. Ninjas in Pajamas will go to Cocktail for the 3rd time, 2nd in a row. They prevailed on this bomb site all the way back in the very first defense and are looking to replicate that to send us to Clubhouse with their team up 1-0. And they've got a good start. They just gunned down Solotov. The entry player, who is usually so formidable, is sitting at a less than impressive 6-11. Most of that ground has been made up by Tyrant. We currently watch down below inside of Mining. Looking for a pick, see if somebody's off site. There's a default cam up, but he wanders right by it. Julio's on the hunt, and he's got the call, and there it is. But no! Julio misses his shots. Tyrant's been downed, but NiP will be able to secure. Pino with the super short, he does it. Musi was there for an insurance policy if needed.
I'm pretty sure Tyrant was down below expecting that's where the Kite Claw was, but Tyrant also had the only grenade from the side of his team. And as I said, this will be a strategical round, and NIP, they know this. They're playing so much further back this round. This is very unlike the previous aggression that we saw, but it speaks to the volume of the strategy. They know NIP or M&M cannot get through this wall. They don't have to do anything but to sit and watch and wait.
Uses is expecting a jump out from the Jaeger of Musi. But the thing is that because of the way he's played, his attention is elsewhere. Nello goes down. That's Diffuser surrendered as well. The job for M&M has now become even harder than it was before. So dire that that might have been the round. 1 player falling, and that could be the ball game. A nice shot from Usis. Damage done, but no! NiP's guns hit their marks at the last second. Usis doesn't know where to look, and that is the first map stolen away from M&M, going to the Brazilian squad and defending world champions of Ninjas in Pajamas.
Now it's back against the wall, Parker. If you're M&M, you really gotta step up the game, and not just step it up, but you're going to the kings of Clubhouse. And NIP, as you said, very emotional team. They can tilt sometimes, but I also think that NIP, they thrive off when things are going in their favor. And they can be extremely happy with especially the attacking side of Cafe. I would say looking extremely lethal and almost an attack. Well, it actually was an attacker-favored Cafe.
A very attacker-favored Cafe. And we're about to go to the most attacker-favored map through 2 days of the 6 Invitational, which, believe it or not, is Clubhouse. That's correct. You heard us right. Clubhouse has the distinction of being the most attacker-favored. Well, if you look at what's coming next, M&M are starting on attack. They will have the favored side, but they just lost their own map. This is the most pressure that this team has had since the qualifiers. Will they live up to the billing that we've heard the analysts and other casters talk about? We'll find out in that second map, but first a break. We'll be right back.
My name is Julio, my nickname is Julio as well, and I'm support player for NIP, Ninjas in Pajamas. I like to play support, Kamikaze find his role as support, and the other 3 like to play really aggressive and like intermediary and aggressive, so yeah, everyone's really happy. Like to be world champion is really nice to defend the title, but we don't feel like extra pressure. For us, it's just another tournament, you know. We always want to win, you know, so we were not that happy in Sweden, but like we were really bad at Mexico, so we stepped it up a lot, so it is good, but we always wanted to win. I think even these losses that we get is even more motivating than win that tournament, you know. because sometimes we get comfortable. So we are always in these ups and downs in eSport half, you know, to always be competitive. You never get tired, like everyone on the team is really competitive, you know, so you always want to win. Sometimes we have ups and downs, like I said, but it's normal for everyone. So we're never like satisfied, you know, we're always trying to change and to be better, you know, just try to be better always and never be comfortable with the current position of the team, even if we are playing good. I think everything at our group is really good, you know. We play best of 3 better, so we are really confident. But yeah, we are analyzing all the things, and yeah, all the matches are gonna be hard, you know. I don't know, man, really who is the weakest team, because all the regions are like balanced, you know. The APAC was not that good, but now they are really good. We were like analyzing Sandbox VODs and like, oh man, they're really good right now. If we don't win the championship, I hope some Brazilian team win, you know, to maintain this Brazilian dynasty, because we are from Brazil, you know. If our region is good, we're gonna be good with them, you know. I think that now it's a really good time for the Rainbow Six scene, because all the regions like had the ups and downs, like NA, EU, now we are the best region, and APAC is being better, so like I think this year is gonna be more balanced, all the regions, and it's really good for the scenario. I hope you guys are prepared, you know, and remember that we are the last champions and we're gonna be really strong for this tournament too. Let's go. We're gonna win again.
Welcome back, everybody, to our very first matchup of the day here on Rainbow Six Bravo. I'm Intero, joined by Pengu, and if you didn't tune in, the team that has lagged behind most of their counterparts in this group just got a bit of a surprising victory on map 1. Ninjas in Pajamas took MNM's map, Nick, and I don't think most people were expecting that result.
Certainly not, but especially because, as you said, MNM's map pick, that means NIP can choose starting side. They choose the starting side of attack, which normally you're thinking, that's crazy, you always want defense. Not the case this time around. These stats will kind of show you why. Saigo, 15 and 7 plus 8. And the most defining factor here is, of course, again, the cost. If you guys don't know what that is, it means kills, objective, survival, and trade. But cost is easily known as consistency. High cost means you consistently did quite well. NIP looking quite good on the board there.
Obviously, the numbers don't tell the full story. There were some spirited efforts from some players on MNM. Nello, in particular, clutched and saved 2 rounds. So even though he finishes at an even 7-7 with a cost of 1.01, As bad as Nello's stats might have been in the other rounds, he is responsible almost solely for 2 of the 4 rounds that MNM won. In fact, one of those rounds being on defense means that Nello is solely responsible for 2 of the 3 rounds that MNM won on attack, and that's one player's contributions. Yeah. This is something we talk about when we say impact kills versus impactless kills. A player can finish a match 3-8, but if all 3 of those kills are heavy contributors to round victories, then your team has won almost half of their rounds based off of you. That's pretty important.
I love context, yeah. Numbers don't tell the whole story, so you really gotta dig in and get gritty with it. And as you said, Nello, huge factor for MNM, but also Tyrant. It was actually Tyrant and Nello together that had a 2 versus 5 clutch and a 2 versus 4 clutch, essentially. Good job by them. On NIP, it was a little bit more individual. Psycho had the 4K, fought for the ace against Nello in the 1v1, but we all know that Nello came out on top. Match is ready, players are in the lobby, and we'll be heading in shortly as we're just watching MNM talk it out for one last second.
There was some frustration shown on the bench of MNM when Ninjas in Pajamas prevailed on Cafe. I think that's very understandable. You as a team, MNM, you're quite proficient on Cafe. You certainly never expect to lose your map pick, but the more dominant you are, the more you assume this is a win for us. We're going to struggle on their map pick. It's the tiebreaker that will ultimately decide the fate of this matchup. Villa is the tiebreaker. We have a statistical pause, by the way, or a technical pause. There seems to be some issue with Solotov. I'm not exactly certain what it is, but he'll talk to the referees. We're in the ban phase right now, and not shown on your screen, but visible to us, is that the very first ban is going to Ninjas in Pajamas, and on Clubhouse, on defense, where they're starting, they have removed a Maverick from play.
Yeah, this is a very stellar, normal ban. Clubhouse is very much around the Thatcher and the Maverick. We often see both actually being banned, but sometimes it's just one or the other. But essentially, the Maverick can just torch through the walls, make them soft, and you can breach them, where the Thatcher can just clear anything that's on the walls, be it a Mute Jammer, a Bandit Battery, or a Kite Claw. So both are extremely pivotal operators, and yeah, at least one of them will basically always be banned, and sometimes even both. Fun fact, Clubhouse right now has a 38% win rate on defense, which is abysmal. It is absolutely terrible, and it just speaks to how good the attacking side is here at the Six Invitationals. Most importantly because Clubhouse is an execution-based map, so if you can execute effectively, you will usually win most of your attacking rounds, and every single team here is oh so damn good. It is the highest prestige tournament we have all year, and it shows in the Clubhouse statistics.
Well, we're back in the action. Next ban coming in from MNM. They'll have these second and third bans. They favor anything here on a map like Clubhouse. Well, they don't like Zofia, that's for sure. They'll remove Zof from action. The disruption capabilities, but additionally, if you're going to try to Maverick towards something, a Zofia is particularly crucial. Only one problem. Maverick is banned. So that eliminates at least one of the purposes of Zofia, but then remove her altogether. You don't want that LMG being used to spam fire into the middle of the bomb sites as almost a level of suppressing fire to keep your opponents pinned down. Kaid will join and Valkyrie round out the last of the bans. Maverick, Zofia, Kaid. Valkyrie for those that don't have a visual compass.
So that's interesting. I feel like this heavily favors kind of CCTV. You can now bandit trick the wall quite effectively because the Maverick's off the board, the Kite's off the board, and yeah, the Thatcher is open just like on Cafe. I like this actually, it's interesting. Oftentimes when the Thatcher is open, the Kaid doesn't really matter, but this time around, MNM will just ensure that it's not available to either team. They'll ban it out, and the NIP says, you know what, we don't really care too much, we're gonna leave the Thatcher open. We want the Valkyrie off the board because MNM played Valkyrie previously with 3 different players. Neo, Nello, Uses all had their turn with her and tried to use her gadget, and yes, didn't find the most success, but Uses was using those jump outs because of those, or was basically using the Valkyrie cameras to jump out and get aggressive. NIP clearly didn't like that. Now, basement defense first round, and with that mirror from Julio sprinting upstairs the second the round started, we're gonna put some mirror in this upstairs, I think. We have seen Brazil do it before where you can actually put it on the bathroom wall facing jacuzzi on that top floor. Or maybe Julio will just get the hatches. Either way, it's a thankless job doing this. You gotta be running all the way upstairs, reinforcing hatches. You're a 1-speed operator. You're not the fastest, and Julio will actually be heading straight back down, so nothing but reinforcements are gonna be happening. The mirror windows will go down below. We saw SSG yesterday using this mirror pick to great effect. They were putting one on Church where Julio is right now, and the last mirror was going onto that blue wall leading into Generator, basically enforcing that or fortifying that basement bomb site, making it very hard to attack.
All right. Standard site rotation for Clubhouse doesn't really exist. The 3 bomb sites that like to get brought out by the defenders are that bottom floor, yes, the basement. What would you call it here? Because there's a first floor.
Well, this
Is there 2 basements, Nick?
No, this is the basement. Like now we have the basement.
So now you admit.
Yeah, because there's a staircase that goes down like you said, so it's different because they're in the basement.
Doesn't really sound like it's that different.
I mean, there's a dirt tunnel, that's different. That's unique. That's just a Clubhouse thing. So the dirt tunnel makes a difference.
All jokes aside, the 3 bomb sites that tend to come out most frequently are this church bomb site downstairs, followed up by CCTV cache above, and then the gym/master bomb site next to CCTV cache as well. The bar stock bomb site that is currently being shown on your screen, which is not a bomb site at the present moment because there's no bombs in it, is almost never played. Yeah. Might be brought out for a cheeky pocket strat, but that's about it. Most teams do not enjoy going there.
Yeah. And we see NIP again playing very passive, just like their last defending side where they're playing for the strategy. Same thing this time around. As we said earlier, they got the mirror windows, one on Church, one on Blue, so they're gonna give up the ground for MNM. And MNM now, they're in the driver's seat in the sense that they need to now show that they know how to attack against this setup. They got the Hibana, which means every single hatch will get opened up if that's what they want. They got the Thermite with flashbang, so it means that dirt tunnel can be opened up and a Church wall, but again, as I said, there is a mirror window there. But basically, TLDR, MNM has every single tool available, including the Thatcher. All they gotta do now is actually have the strategy on paper to break this defense apart.
Located by attackers.
So far, looking pretty good, working their way to this kitchen hatch. They already opened up the Moto, and I believe Dirt was opened up as well by Nello, so they're gonna be coming at all angles, it seems like.
Psycho was not able to stop that hatch from opening up, and that gives even more control to MNM. No Nitro Cell's been used to take the sledge out of action. There'll be a grenade dropped on in, the Thatcher grenade goes down, that'll be the Goyo shield taken out, it explodes, and that is a very key part of the defensive utility that does not allow NIP to rest easily in that hallway. Now they will have to dry peek the hall on these engagements. Exothermic charge goes off, and that's blue side now in favor of the attacker. Solotov, the very first kill of the map, takes out Psycho. The Wamai was playing down by the back of dummies, and Solotov will still watch that same position. Nello's in the middle of the bomb site now, and we'll go for the diffuser. Damage done to Nello, though. He has to fall off and chuck through the wall. He's in the middle of nowhere. NIP with 2 kills to their name, and they've surrendered the diffuser by where Nello died. Solotov will have to drop. He does just that. Looking for a kill, but unable to find one. Completely blind to where these Ninjas in Pajamas players are. It's a little bit too late for MNM, as it's Neo all by his lonesome, and he's finished off. A bit of mercy killing from Pino. They're hoping to tie this one up as quickly as they did on Cafe, and with a round like that, NIP sure look mighty fine.
There was a very, very clear point in that round that defined the entire outcome. In fact, I'll call it 2 situations. Nello jumped the hatch, started planting. Then 2 C4s came out from the side of NIP. Nello starts running around trying to survive. He does, but the issue is there isn't a whole lot of cover against the player from NIP playing on the AK's position. Tyrant then drops the blue hatch into electric, but there's a shield in his way. He cannot get the angle onto the enemy player from NIP. He gets taken down, and that means Nello is all alone. He gets found as well, and then it's just a fumble from there. MNM did not have the opening that they needed, and the C4s ultimately from NIP ensured that Nello could not plant for free. The mirror windows made it so hard for MNM to really get an opening anywhere. Despite getting the opening pick, they could not get the round. Now, going to CCTV, and we spoke briefly about this earlier, Bandit trick in the wall is actually a very viable strategy because the Maveric's off the board and so is the Sophia. Sophia with the Thatcher, you get essentially this trick. If you throw an EMP on that server wall, you can then do a Sophia concussion stun through the drone hole. That will stop the Bandit from tricking the wall against the Thermite or Hibana, and then you can basically open up the wall for free. But with the Sophia being banned, this is no longer possible, and that simple fact allows Julio to play the Bandit, and the only way for MNM to do anything about this is essentially to go either down below and do verticality, or there's the last trick available to them, which is that you can throw an EMP on the wall, then throw 2 Selma charges from the Ace, 1 on each. And because the Selma charge activation is faster than Bandit tricking, you will get a tiny hole in the wall, thus leaving the Bandit unable to trick any longer. Either way, MNM, they have a couple of ways to do it. And so far, they're doing a split take. It's going to be Neo on the Ace and Thatcher on the CC Breach, with Tyrant on the Master Bedroom side of things.
Promising sign is that Solotov got a kill early in that previous round. It took him, what, 6 rounds to find the scoreboard back on Cafe, a bit of jitters. If Solotov does not show up, the likelihood of MNM beating a team of Nip's caliber drops significantly. You need a full team effort. Tyrant alone cannot carry the team in kills. And it's not to disparage Neo, Yuzis, or Nello either. These are all 3 perfectly competent players, but they don't play an aggro entry style or that fluid roam style on defense. So if they're the ones getting kills, that's fine, but they're not the primary focus of their 3 roles.
Yeah. Just want to point out right now that yes, Neo and the Thatcher of Yuzis did open up the server breach. They did exactly the trick where you throw an EMP and 2 Selma charges, which means that now MNM kind of in the driver's seat. Now what they're going to do, they're going to go Master side. They've already taken the ground, they're in connector, and they want to get open the wall as well to side, which means they're going to get angles from both sides. And this is exactly how you're going to be pressuring the defenders, limiting the areas that are safe for them. And NIP, sure, they got the Bandit, sure, they got the Mute, they also have impacts on Cycle. They do have a couple of ways around it, but if MNM plays it clean, that should be all that. C4 comes out, does not find Solotov, but oh boy, it's close.
Some damage to be done, but at least that's one of the explosives on defense down. You can count that with the rest of your team. 2 minutes expired from the clock now. MNM's focus is over towards Cash side, and again Solotov starts off the round with a kill. Excellently done. An advantage for MNM twice in a row, but Solotov will pay for that. He gets dropped. Adrenal Surge burn to get him back up off his feet. I don't know if that's aware of from Ninjas in Pajamas. Julio gets droned out. It goes by his feet. And he'll play off of this single panel, but pinched by Solotov, who's back up and once again in the thick of it. He's single-handedly clearing out Cash. Next step, look towards the top of red stairs. Kamikaze's last beauty will go out, meaning there will be 15 seconds with no coverage of that yellow gas. Pino down below, guns down Tyrant, stopped in his tracks, flash goes out, it affects Muzi and Pino. The last 3 players from NIP all sequestered in the same spot at the top of red stairs, while MNM have breach control but are also squeezing their way into Cash. Down goes Solotov as it's a triple from Pino, collecting every single kill. Looking for garage control, but MNM are twisting wildly in the bomb site with limited information. Nello will have to go for that plant. Doing so will allow Neo to cover, but he's dropped at the last second and Neo is not quick enough into it, so NIP will take round number 2, along with round number 1. They're up 2-0.
MNM having a hard time there. Strategically did the right thing, got both breaches open, but then Julio's early aggression kind of chucked some damage off Nello, made it a lot harder to plant, fearing the C4, fearing the Toxic Babes until the very last second. Sure, there wasn't any left at the last 15 seconds of the round, but only 15 seconds left to go. It's very, very tricky to get everything set up, ready, and locked in. NIP doing a good job at finding multiple players from MNM, taking back the man advantage. Pino had a beautiful shot from that bottom red stairs, eliminating the player from down below of MNM. Ultimately, NIP, they conquer 2-0 right now. Third bomb site comes in. 6-pick from Goyo to Goyo from Pino, saying, you know what? I changed my mind. I want to stick this operator. I'm 6-0 right now, baby. I got so many goddamn kills to my name. And the Goyo Shields, of course, very, very strong piece of utility. With the Twitch being open, it's not being played on Clubhouse. It's not very common to do that. That means the Goyo Shields are even more safe than before, as they can only really fall to grenades. But then again, there are 4 grenades available to the side of MNM. No Finger this time around. Be a Sledge, Thatcher, Ace, Thermite, and Ayana. Pretty stable lineup. You can bring this to pretty much every single bomb site. You get Verticality, you get Soft Explosive, you get Double Breach, and the Thatcher. This basically gives you every tool you need to deal with any problem in your way. But then you also gotta remember, NIP, current reigning world champions, they're really good at Rainbow Six Siege, and they're really, really sharp when it comes to gunplay. So breaching a wall is not enough for MNM. They also gotta find the picks, and that's very difficult against the likes of NIP.
Talked about the site rotation as well. It's something worth fixating on. For the newer viewers, you might not know exactly the rhythm that teams play on Clubhouse. Church down below, the first bomb site, Cash CCTV next, and then Gym Master up after that. The thing with Cash CCTV is that even when you are not defending it, if you're defending Gym Master above, you're still going to use Cash or CCTV or both, as a focal point for your off-site play. That's the setup that you see being done right now from Pino. He's got a Nitro Cell in hand. If any exothermic charge or any type of hard destruction is used on the wall, then very easily can it be stopped by Ninjas in Pajamas, especially if they have access to an impact grenade. And with 3 players from NiP all in that same area, you know that they've invested quite heavily. A very ironic term, given the fact they're going to be playing in cash. A Nitro Cell was tossed out over towards Garage. It missed its target. There's 2 players from MNM sitting there waiting. Tyrant droning down below, and then Neo up top with a breach in hand. Solotov watching the opening. He's gotten both of the opening picks so far in this matchup, and he wants another. He's the first one to take some damage, though, playing at the top of red stairs. He'll wait for the jiggle peek over by the doorway. Down in Garage, and there you have it. Picking away, this is going to be a tough shot. Musi decides to continue to engage. He misses as 2 players from MNM walk through the breach. Flash is going out. Lots of action happening halfway through the round. Solotov blinded by the smoke. Kamikaze dropped. The Thermite of Neo continuing to trudge forward. MNM hitting all of their marks. 2 big kills to start things off with. It's Usis to get the first. Solotov one of his own. Wow. Just like that. 1 minute to go. It's a 5v2, make it a 4v2. First casualty for MNM is Tyrant, and down Pino goes, leaving Psycho in a 1v4, but he's in the basement, Nick, and he has to get back up top to try and defend Gym Master, which is firmly held by MNM, and they're getting the diffuser down as well. Psycho is as good as dead.
Very good job by MNM. The second Pino jumped out the window, they flushed his side, knowing last guy was in the basement. Psycho, he might have gotten a kill on the flank, but can you retake the bombs against 4 players? He says, maybe I can. Find Solotov, but there's 3 more to go, but that'll be that. Nelo finds the last remaining kill. MNM get on the board in terms of round score. 2-1 now, and that, honestly, from MNM was quite ridiculous, looking at how much chaos that was.
That round was over after we saw MNM just whisk their way through CCTV, commandeer cash, commandeer top of red, and leave NiP in a massive hole. Down, of course, in a 2v5. As valiant an effort as you're going to get from Psycho, that bomb site does just not play well to a retake. The way to get back to gym and bedroom is to go up the main stairs. But the problem is that when you go up the main stairs, you run into a brick wall. Literally.
Literally, yeah.
Literally and metaphorically. At the top of the stairs, there's a brick wall. To your right, there's the jacuzzi breach, which can be opened up by the attackers. You have to watch logistics to your left. You also have to watch the master door to your left. And then when you go into master, they can be playing by the gym wall, they can be playing inside of the bathroom, they can be playing by the logistics nook, they can be playing by construction door. That's at least 4 different spots that the attackers can sit, and they're all going to be looking in the same direction. You're only going to be able to pick 1. But 4 of them means even if that number goes down to 3, they've still got a line of sight on you, and you're as good as dead. Not even the best player in the world can pull off that level of play. The sophistication would be nice, but NiP is just not that team. No team is, in fact. So MNM had control of the site. No way for NiP to get back in. Quite easy once they have control of the map, and that is a successful execute. But again, most of that happened off-site.
Certainly. I mean, you can almost argue that the round gets defined on that CCTV cache extension, right? If you, as an attacker, pull that apart like MNM did, finding 3 kills, you're now favored to win the round, and had NiP held on and gotten those kills instead, then, well, NiP gets the round as well. So the early round or mid-round is kind of defined, whereas the late round is defined by the early, and therefore, oh, you win the early, win the late, and we saw that's just what happened. We now went back downstairs, but there's a difference and change from NiP. They are now roaming. Last time in the basement on that very first round, we saw most players, if not every single player from NiP, being in the basement on the bomb site with those mirror windows. This time it will be an upstairs extension. They got 3 players right now, Pino, Musi, and Psycho, although Pino, he really quickly got out of there, leaving just Musi now as well. So NiP, the second that wall got breached out, said, you know what, we're not gonna contest too much, we're kind of scared right now, we're gonna fall back, but Musi says, you know what, I can still fire my gun towards your direction, Tyrant off the board. Despite
the score line right now favoring NiP 2-1, that's the first time that NiP has gotten an opening pick in this map. And another to join as well on a Solotov. Musi with 2 to start it off, patrolling upstairs inside of CCTV. One of the things to note, when that defense on the previous round fell apart, usually the defenders will get out of there very quickly, but because MNM were so fast, there's just no way for NiP to do it. They were too entrenched. They used all those smokes to the best of their ability. Their ability wasn't very good. Their best wasn't very good, and they ended up getting buried for it.
Yeah. Kind of say that meme right now in this round where the second wall got opened, most players from NiP, they ran from top floor except for Musi, and then, you know, MNM can say, oh, you're stuck in here with us. Musi goes, no, you got that wrong. You're stuck in here with me. If you find 2 kills like that and you're sticking around still, I think Musi understands that he can't just fall back for free, but he wants to take as many players down with him as possible because he knows he is as good as dead. If he were to survive, that would be an ace!
No way!
Right now, he got the first 3.
Really remarkable stuff now. He'll be hunted down by Neo. 4 kills from Musi. Pop up on the Thermite, and it's an ace for Musi in his hands, but he looks the wrong way. An ace denied by Nello. No way for Nip to do that, but guess what? Just because Musi made that one-man stand above and got 4 kills for it and the ace doesn't happen, the round win for Nip is almost at 100%. Just as was faced with Nip and Psycho in the previous round, now Nello will need to pull off a 1v4, but this time his job is significantly harder because he has the objective in hand. And he's going to be greeted at the bottom of the main stairs by a shotgun. That'll be the end of that round. Nip, 3-1.
Yeah, and just like the round prior on that gym defense, the early round, when you're roaming on basement, kind of defines what happens throughout. If you're successful with the roam clear as an attacker, attackers, they got a good position. But if you're Musi in this position, finding 4 kills, it doesn't matter what happens when you get to the bomb site because you'll only have 1 man left standing. That was Nello. And he made his fate with by a shotgun on that bottom main stairs. Musi should not have been allowed to get away with 4 kills that previous round. You can almost argue that MNM could have spent more resources opening up the wall, droning, nading, flashing, whatever you will say, instead of just walking in and trying to take those gunfights. And that's the troublesome position that often you'll find, especially with utility, that, well, we can use the utility now and, you know, get the early round, or we can save the utilities that when we get to the bomb site, we'll have more things to throw at the defenders. But if you never get to see the bomb site, you really gotta start considering maybe we should have used it earlier. We're gonna see a bar. It happened. That now means we have seen every single bomb site on this half from NIP. And you said earlier, Park, that bar bomb site is usually a pocket strat, if anything.
Insert Michael GIF. Oh my god, it's happening! Bar stock. This is something that is so infrequently played, and that's because there is so little room for error. Every time a team comes to this bomb site, Nick, 1 small grain of sand is enough to destroy the entire machine. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and you got the Thatcher open as well. It becomes so much harder now for NIP.
The biggest focus for defenders often ends up being Jim and Master above because you want to hold over top of Billiards and try to drop through that hatch that's present inside a gym. There's an Echo on the board, 4 ninjas in pajamas that will almost certainly be used for the plant denial, but that's if MNM are even able to get there. MNM so far have 1 diffuser planted. That was the successful round they had when they had full control of Jim above, and they got the diffuser down in Master. But MNM will need to get to the bomb site and then pick off some of the NIP players, then the herd, before they're able to really do anything with it. I am fascinated to see the way that this unfolds.
Yeah, I was saying if anything for NIP, it'll come down to gunplay, right? Because with Bar being a very weak bomb site strategically, and one thing going wrong kind of, you know, breaks the entire thing, I would assume, especially with Psycho and Vigil, that NIP wants to get crazy here and they want to get those gunfights with MNM. And so far, if you look at the scoreboard, that has been working in the favor of NIP. We're still waiting. No one's really making the first move. Salto does cook a grenade, but I don't think that's going to find anybody. But it looks like out the jammer, if anything.
We've been so focused on all the oddities that have happened in this match so far that we have not repeated the fact that Clubhouse is currently the most favorable map to the attackers, and MNM have only been able to muster a single round. Now, Cafe is a relatively even map, and it was exceedingly attacker-favored just previously. So that doesn't necessarily mean that we're looking at an attacker-favored Clubhouse again. It could very easily be held by the defenders. Bar stock is usually not the bomb site that the defense does well on, but Pino getting kill number 1 onto Tyrant, Neo refragging onto Psycho. These teams are now at a 4v4 standstill. And if you're MNM, you cannot stall out here. You got to pick. You were able to equalize. It's the Vigil down. That's a roamer. And a very important player in Psycho. Take control of that top floor. Continue to push because you've only got a minute left.
Very, very good point. You got to start making moves with your MNM. And I honestly think by the looks of it, they might have given up on that top floor because 3 players are making their way downstairs and saying, you know what? There's too many people up here. We don't know what we're walking into. There's too many jammers. They've now breached the stock wall instead. And they're going to start making their way into Bar stage. But now NIP gonna make their way back to side as well. They have Echo available. No Yokai drones alive though, so it have to come down to gunplay. There's no, actually there's, sorry, one C4 from Nepo as well.
Two very important audio cues right now as Musi gets punished by Nello. Advantage for MNM. Flash is going in with 30 seconds left. Proximity alarms and the Banshee giving away the position of MNM as they try to barnstorm on in. But again, Nello surrenders the diffuser as he's gunned down by Kamikaze. Yuzis trades him out, cannot accomplish a second kill. That's Pino to get away with that. Upstairs, by the way, is Solotov, and he is miles away, but he drops just like that. Diffuser still not within reach. 5 seconds to go. Kamikaze down for the count. Pino and Solotov in a 1v1, but Pino's just going to play keep away, and frustration from Solotov as he's slowed by the Banshee evident. Ninjas in Pajamas take the first half, 4-1, still one more round to go for them to grow their lead.
Oh, Solotov, you need to shoot the Banshee. Remember, guys, Melusi has been changed. When you're within range, it opens up and it is exposed. One bullet or a melee will take it out, and therefore you are no longer slowed, and the opposing enemy will also not know your exact position. Solotov just kind of walked through it, didn't do much about it, did not want to turn around, and ultimately the time just ran out. MNM now 1-4. They got this last attacking round. See if they can make it work. Get that 2-4 split. They're gonna need it.
Well, some time to go through what just transpired on that bar stock defense and pick it apart, and I'm actually hopeful that our command center spends quite a bit of time on that bomb site, because when an unusual bomb site is played, I think it deserves quite a large spotlight. Now, speaking of unusual, we have spoilers inbound, so cover your ears for the next 10 to 15 seconds or so, starting now. The Sonics have defeated Sandbox Gaming by a score of 2-0, 7-0, and 7-3. An absolutely dominating performance, and now spoilers are over.
Wow.
I feel badly for you because you don't get to make a comment.
No, I don't.
You just have to say wow.
I say wow, yeah. I can't say like, oh, that scoreline, that's amazing. No, it's wow. I will say though, the spoiler that we just heard, it is a wow statement. It is. I did not expect it. Then again, there's been quite a lot of, not quite, there's just been some upsets. It hasn't been too crazy so far. And I wouldn't say NIP beating MNM would be an upset either. But in MNM beating NIP, that's not an upset either as well, because NIP hasn't played the most stellar Siege so far at the Six Invitationals. This match, regardless of the outcome, has been quite good. Unless you're MNM on Clubhouse Attack, as we said, it was a 38% win rate for the defenders, and NIP getting 4 the last 5 rounds. This is a statement. Tyrant, opening kill onto Psycho. That's the Wamara off the board. It's an active gadget, not passive, but Pino traded straight back with a C4 onto the grenades of Solotov.
Well-used gadget now as that Nitro Cell claims Solotov. Solotov has been the best player for MNM thus far here on Clubhouse, making space, entering well, getting those opening picks, not being traded off right away. That's what you like to see from him. And there's a reason why you'll hear an awful lot about Tyrant and Solotov on this squad whenever things are going well for MNM. You'll hear about them when things aren't going well, too, but not for the right reasons. Cash and CCTV defense for NIP will be their last. 5-1 is an ideal scoreline for them heading into the second half, but MNM will try to prevent that. Pino's off site. He's got some barricades down below as a flash goes in, wasting time. Pino is 10-1, by the way.
I just realized.
That is an unthinkable number, and he's going to need some more as Nello and Neo combined for 2 kills of their own. Musi and Pino are in, but Musi completely botches it, and this is a replay of what we saw from Psycho. Another 1v4, MNM getting the diffuser planted. Almost full HPs for 3 players on MNM. In fact, full HP for 3 of them. Tyrant, the only one down quite low. Pino will be getting some impactless kills, and there's one to start. 11-1. Looking for more. Having to head towards the diffuser, 35 seconds left, is not an ideal situation. Through that soft wall, the tracers will go. To his left, there's another player, and he just can't outgun Nello, who does a great job sitting inside of construction, taking down the last player from NIP. Stemming some of the bleeding is MNM. Side swap coming in. NIP now moves to attack MNM on the defense.
Both the rounds that MNM ended up winning were actually quite similar. The first round they won on attack was that gym attack where the last player was roaming from the main stairs, so they just swarmed the bomb site and they planted 1 versus 4. This round as well, they just swarmed their way in, got the kills. It was a 1 versus 4, bomb down as well. So 2 round wins, 2 plans. But the incredible thing is that out of 6 rounds, MNM had 4 opening kills, NIP only had 2. And even then, MNM could only get half of those rounds on the board. Now we got the side swap. MNM will be on the defending side of things, and they will actually start inside of bar. Not the second round, not the third round, the very first round. They will open up with the pocket pick kind of bomb side, where NIP actually managed to get a W. Can they do the same? Now, the difference is, Nello is on the mirror. NIP did not bring the mirror out at all. Tyrant on the Thunderbird will be able to heal up his allies if they take any damage. I kind of like this setup. It's quite aggressive, but also quite versatile. Alibi being bought as well, meaning you have 1, 2, 3, you have 4 shotguns on the side of MNM. You can do a lot of vertical play, basically playing the entire bomb set from up above if that's what you wish. Meanwhile, Tyrant's actually in the basement.
Roaming as Thunderbird. Has the spear, not the shotgun. I think that's important to note because we did actually see the shotgun get brought by a Thunderbird at one point, but no, in this particular case, you're gonna run with the AR. Quite a strong weapon.
Yeah.
And I like this spread from MNM, how just spread out they are. Again, another bar stock is extremely confusing, as you said, bringing out that pocket pick very early on, but NiP have already shown that it can work.
Yeah, there they have. So Elevate, I believe, that brought out the shotgun on Thunderbird. And I mean, if any team were to do it, it should be like, you know, APAC or Elevate, etc. We've seen them kind of play Ying shotgun as well back in the day. That became meta for a while, and that's the thing about these, like, I don't want to call it a sub-region because APAC is a primary region, and more than ever, they're extremely strong right now, but they innovate a lot. They bring weird strategies, weird ways of, I say weird, but it's just different ways of playing the game, but then all of a sudden, we start seeing major regions like EU and NA and LATAM adopting those playstyle and using them themselves.
Unique or outside the norm are the ways that I would describe them.
Certainly.
Man, I remember the days of Barstock being the second most played bomb site on Clubhouse before the rework.
It was still bad back then.
Control of Strip Club was particularly crucial. Hold on a second. Can we get a look at that opening in the wall, please?
Strip,
oh, okay. It's just a visual glitch. I was like, don't tell me they didn't get the whole wall, but it's the explosion glitched over the opening. So there is still a clear line of sight into the bomb site. You don't need it, though, if you're Julio. And Psycho as well towards the back of the site, looking at the B-bomb chassis. Kamikaze is there with Diffuser as well. NiP get the very first pick. Half of the round is already expired at this point, and NiP are 3 rounds away from a 2-0 over their foes. This is NiP's map, and it is an attacker-sided map statistically. We'll see if that continues to hold.
NIP going for a very different approach in their attack here. They open up both the strip wall and the stock wall, basically making the bomb site a really difficult area to be in for the defenders. And there's in fact nobody from MNM on the side. If anything, Psycho, he owns this area. And once these Maestro cameras get destroyed, MNM will be blinded. And that means NIP can start planting very soon as Kamikaze is bringing over the Diffuser.
No sets of smokes for Ninjas in Pajamas, so they're going to be planting dry. You don't see teams use smokes to obscure plants all that often anymore.
C4.
Will it be baited out? Tyrant is there with the lineup. But no! Oh. Instead, he puts it away. The Nitro Cell does not go off. Is there just no intel from MNM? Calamity will break loose as Julio picks up kill number 2. Neo drops, as does Musi. And it's just an absolute frag fest. Everybody trading blows back and forth, but NiP emerge with a 3v2. Diffuser still going. The 3v2 becomes a 3v1. Solotov on a shred of HP drops. And the opening from NiP earlier on inside a strip exposes MNM. And funny enough, they get caught with their pants down. Solotov in particular. 5-2 the scoreline as NiP is triumphant on their very first attack.
So NIP both wins the defense of Bar and then the attack of Bar within the same 3-round time span. That is quite impressive and also incredibly rare. Essentially, MNM did not have any information on the side. It was extremely evident as Tyrant had the C4 ripped in his hand, and once the plant came down, he had no idea in which direction to throw it. So instead, he walked back up the main stairs, but again, there's like 4 guns in his direction. He couldn't make it work, and nobody from MNM could really get much going for them. I'm curious if there was no verticality available because MNM still had top floor presence to a degree. But again, without actual information, it can be a guessing game of where exactly NIP will be planting, although I'm sure you could assume it's somewhat where that would be. I will say NIP, well done on that breach, getting both sides of strip and stock, making sure that Nilo, who was the only guy on side, had nowhere to go and fell down extremely early in that round, making it even more difficult for the defending side. Now, second defense from MNM we'll see up inside of CCTV, so I want to say that a similar bump set rotation, but yeah, CC has been the second choice for both teams so far. NIP went basement first, not bar, but the common factor here is that CC's been second priority, which makes good sense given the operator bans, and the same thing as well. Nello also bringing out the Bandit, both teams playing that same strategy.
It was Julio that we saw on the Bandit playing in cash, watching construction, swinging and getting ultimately gunned down. And cash defense for NiP worked out, but it wasn't necessarily because of the contributions of Julio in terms of killing, but those Bandit batteries were evidently a major factor. But as you point out, you need to actively Bandit trick, and it sure looks like that's what's happening right now on the wall. A Thatcher in play. And Nello's running the shotgun, by the way. I don't know if you noticed
I did not notice.
He has the M870 instead of the MP5.
So the thing to note here is that NIP did not bring the ace. They brought the Thermite and Hibana, which doesn't work that well against the Bandit. But at the same time, Nello isn't actively tricking. I think he's fearing a grenade from down below. But the thing is, there's no one from NIP just there yet. And you also have the magnets from Uses, as well as him playing inside of blue. They should be covering this wall together, because once this EMP gets tossed out, the wall can get open. Tyrant says no, Psycho off the board. Now they know for sure that no nades will be down below.
Poor drone work on behalf of NiP, but they get the follow-up onto Uses right now inside of blue. Common spot, about to get naded. Will Nello get claimed by it? Yes, beautifully tossed by Musi. EMPs will now disable the Bandit batteries, a window of an opportunity for Kamikaze to open up the wall, and they will do so successfully. At 4v3 in terms of numbers, favoring Ninjas in Pajamas. Solotov, I don't know if it's a desperate act or not, but his eyes are set on that breach. Exactly the halfway mark now in the round. And Tyrant gets a little bit of contest on the top of that catwalk in Garage. He has to expend a toxic canister to obscure the doorway, but he's still alive for the time being. Solotov back watching that breach. Again, patrolling that position between Cash and CCTV. Telltale sign of the Gone 6 to pick up a piece of utility. Sitting on the ADSs, Tyrant has now used all 3 of his toxic canisters, and he'll watch his team wither and die around him. That's Solotov off of the board. Neo and Tyrant as a follow-up for NiP, and if they are successful, it's match point. They've got Tyrant now out of Garage, and it's Neo in a 1v4. 1v4 seemingly in vogue. And, well, how about in a 1v4 leading to an 0v4? The one has never been able to pull it off, and Ninjas in Pajamas are on map point, series point, 6-2.
Yep, that was a bit of a funky round, if you will. It just kind of fell apart from MNM. Nothing much defined it, but again, the gunfight's coming out heavily favoring NIP. They're finding so many frags, and every time MNM gets an opening pick, it gets traded right back. Nello actually ran away from that main breach of CCTV and got naded because he ran away. Had he stuck nearby the breach itself, he might have stayed alive. But those are those 50-50 decisions that you make, where Nello was assuming that nade was going to go to the breach, but the nade didn't, so you tried to play it smart, but actually ended up getting punished. The Bandit trick was very important, but neither team successfully got much value out of it, and MNM says, you know what, we had enough of top floor, gonna go downstairs in the basement of all areas, down to church, no mirror in sight.
The problem with bringing an M870 over the MP7 is that you have to have your strategy go according to plan, because if things go awry and you can't play in such close proximity with that shotgun, you're as good as dead. It doesn't have the same range that a lot of other defenders do. The key shotgun that we tend to see being lately the AA-12, which has a much, or the, well, I don't know, the ACS-12, I believe is the official name for it in the game. It has much longer range as a slug shotgun. You'll often see the 2 SAS shotguns get brought out as well.
M870, I believe.
That is correct. The M870 is the shotgun that the GSG9 run, both Jaeger and Bandit. I think it's like the M1015 or something like that is the one that's being brought by Pulse from time to time as well. So the defenders will bring shotguns that have longer range. The MP7 is a mighty fine gun. In my opinion, it is one of the most consistent and reliable guns on defense, and it allows you more flexibility. But the thing is that if you want to play close range, that M870 that a Bandit will hold is much better. It is often a one-shot kill, whether you hit the head or not. The moment that you lose control of the wall, the moment that you lose control of Garage, you've got a Bandit sitting there completely ineffective at anything other than a foot or 2 from him, and that's just tough. You need to be confident your strategy needs to happen. If it doesn't, you end up hurting the round, and the strategy falls apart very quickly. I like what MNM are trying. It just doesn't work out.
And to add insult to injury, it wasn't even a gunfight. You died to a grenade, so you can't even shoot back because you're not fighting anyone at all.
That's correct. He got naded by, I believe it was Musi from down below.
Yeah.
So, tough position for MNM to be in. So far, they have 6 rounds to their name, and this is what I fear they were expecting coming to Clubhouse. This is NiP's playground. They are 5-0 over the last 2.5 months, and with a kill like that and 2 kills like that, 6-0 seems to be what is predetermined and most certain. Nello and Neo, the names that you might confuse yourself with when you see them quickly, are no longer in action. 90 seconds left. Ninjas in Pajamas up in a 5v3.
I think playground is the right word right now. Cafe, that was one kind of fight, but this one on Clubhouse is very, very different. NIP is showing why they've played this map 5 times in the last 3 months and why they've won it each and every single time. And they're looking to claw towards their first actual match victory here at the E6 Invitationals 2022. Hatch being opened, multiple, actually both Kitchen and Moto dropping at the same time. Solotov looking to get active, but the drones from NIP are just too good. They're not taking any risks. They want to end it here.
Musi taking some damage in the process. The only thing that really benefits MNM is that this bomb site can be a fortress if the attackers are not particularly adept with their hard destruction, because then you are forced to either drop through hatches or funnel through narrow doorways. It's an easy prospect for defenders to pick you apart, but it certainly seems like the attackers on NiP have no problem getting these walls open, and a little bit of hard destruction as Pino will choke through that gas, looking for a kill on either Usis or Tyrant. Double drop from NiP inside of Moto. They want to rush on in, but there's another smoke to impede them. 15 seconds to go. All toxic canisters down for the count. Usis pressured inside of Blue, wandering around with one body from above. That's the first kill for MNM. Solotov gets it. Tyrant with one as well. NiP are running out of time. They've suddenly lost the lead, and Tyrant looking for more. Lines up. Julio cannot do anything, and just like I said, if your hard breach fails, your push fails. That's what happens to NiP, and MNM managed to win the round.
Absolutely correct, Parker. You said you gotta get through a narrow doorway. That's exactly what happened to NIP. They all 3 people walk through the same area, and it makes it so much easier for MNM to just hold the angle, hold down the button, and take out the enemy. I will say though, they did get a small breach onto that church wall, but nobody was there to utilize it, basically allowing users to sit near it and get 2 kills of it. Oh, sorry, Tyrant actually was. Users is playing on mine now. Same operator, different player. Tyrant got those kills and denied the entry point, doing a really good job. But now basement's locked. You gotta go somewhere else. Do you go bar? Do you go gym? Do you go CC? Right now, they say we go back to server, but this time around, there'll be no bandit on the board. Nello himself has found him on that Alda, the mighty weapon that we know on the Maestro. This will also provide them with 2 evil eye cameras. That's Maestro's gadget, also known as Bubbles, and these will provide good information. The 9 drone intel from NIP, but it's not gonna save the breach at all because they have no wall deny whatsoever.
Interesting decision to not go with any wall denial.
It's gonna be bloody.
I mean, I, for one, am very excited to see this happen. I suspect we're going to see Tyrant back up on Catwalk as all 4 panels in Garage are reinforced. This looks like a very typical defensive setup. Reinforce the 4 panels in Garage, 2 up top on the wall into CCTV, reinforce the single panel over by Cash, reinforce off construction as well, and, well, there you go. That's 8 of the panels by my count. Where are the other 2? Well, we'll find out. One is on the wall leading from the top of Rafters, and then maybe the other's over by Red.
Yeah, red wall as well.
There you go. All 10 of them, but Tyrant has finished off very early on. What the hell happened there? He's inside a garage. He's got access to the FMG over the shotgun. Why? Because it allows you to play smarter and engage at longer ranges from the top of the catwalk.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be available. His smoke's not available, and that allows garage control unless somebody else from MNM has rotated over in that direction. It sure doesn't seem that way, which means a key part of the map has been surrendered. You've lost garage. You didn't bring any denial for the wall, so now the wall's been opened up into CCTV, and unless there's some deeper strategy here from MNM, they look like they are in a very bad spot.
Yeah, they don't even have a C4. They have one single impact to their name. Remember, Nella was playing Bandit Shotgun to allow Tyrant to play FMG on the smoke. This time around, Nello bringing that secondary pistol shotgun from the Maestro, but now Tyrant's off the board. The weapon of FNG is gone, the Toxic Babes are gone, your Catwalk player is gone, and you've committed multiple ADSs to protect this player, but now there's no one there. Somebody should have sprinted through and retaken that position, because I'm really, really afraid if you're M&M right now, you have no ground on this map.
Look at the lineup for 3 of these players, too. They're all on the north side of the building, which means they're playing by red and 2 in the back of Cash. The only player that isn't on the bomb site is Yuzis, who's down below. I don't know what the intended purpose of the Wamai there is. Maybe it's to try to impact from below and deny, but Solotov gets picked off. These nades from below, very smart, and 2 will hit their marks. This is utter domination from Ninjas in Pajamas. The retake from Garage is happening, but it's way too late. Nello, the very first pick from his team, but the Wamai will have to get up that main ladder, picked apart. Kamikaze's waiting for it. Nello, the last one left, and boy oh boy. I know he's the most experienced player for the team, but that doesn't really do all that much. 1v4, tons of bullets in the Alda, diffuser planted, but a crossfire is enough for Ninjas in Pajamas to just crush any chance of a comeback from M&M. A scoreline of 2-0, 7-4 on map 1, 7-3 on map 2, and NiP take the series.
I think NIP can be very happy with that. They needed to show some dominance at some point in this group stage, because had they lost to M&M, they would actually have an extremely hard way to get out of groups. Now, looking a little bit better. They still got more games to go for both of these teams. This was M&M's second game ever at a LAN event at an international stage. They just made EUL. They just qualified through open qualifiers. We'll see more from them, and I'm sure we'll see more success as well. I will say, this matchup, a lot of 1v4s.
An awful lot of 1v4s. And yes, we have to spoil the results of the other match, so if you don't want to listen to it, don't tune in right now until we're on the break, but this really does put Sandbox in a terrible spot moving forward. They lost yesterday to M&M, and now they lost again to the Sonics. So where does Sandbox go? NiP winning now puts them on the same footing as Sandbox, potentially a little bit higher than them when we see the standings later on. But this win in particular is what was needed for NiP. If they had lost here, NiP's chances of moving out of the group would go down significantly. This victory was a must-win, and they won it. Sandbox now is in a really rough spot, and Sandbox's next matchup is against Empire, and that will determine whether Sandbox gets a victory and stays in, or potentially ends up dropping out and being the only team to go home in this group.
Certainly, and Empire on day 1 of this event didn't look too hot, but I will say they've been ramping up. Third map of their very first game, they looked a lot better than the first map of their first game. And on the second day, yesterday, playing a lot better overall. So Empire, do not underestimate them. They are here to stay. They want to go further in this tournament.
That's it for us for map number 1. But like all days at SI, we've got 4 matches to bring you today. 3 more to go. Match 2 is up next. But first, a break, and then our wonderful analysts will take you through exactly what happened.